Hello, James. You are up first, sir.
Hey Bart, how's it going?
How's it going, James? And where are you playing out of?
I'm playing out of Philly Live.
Philly Live. Philly Live. Philly Live. So I assume you play at parks as well?
I do.
Okay. So how do you decide where to go?
It depends where I'm coming from. If I'm at work, I will usually go to Philly Live because it's only 10 minutes as opposed to dealing with an hour getting out of work and dealing with rush hour traffic.
Yeah. And what's the size of the game that you're playing?
Playing 2-5, the straddle is not on at this time.
So this is a 251K cap game?
Yes, it is.
All right. So 251K, full ring, and no straddle. Okay. Start us off.
Yeah, we happen to be seven-handed at this time. I know it doesn't make a huge
Okay.
difference.
Seven-handed. Okay.
The villain that I'm going to be playing with is only 635 effective. The hijack limps the cutoff, who is the main villain, raises to $10.
So hijack limps, cut off, raises to $10. Now, that is straight out of small stakes exploits, one of the small stakes exploits. Usually, when somebody raises an amount and doesn't really take into account the limps, it's usually not a strong hand. This is even a min raise, anyways. I mean, this is bizarre. One limp and a guy just makes it min raises to 10. I mean, it wasn't a misclick, was it?
It didn't seem like a misclick, and he hasn't been doing this since he moved to the table either. He had been raising to a normal amount to like 15 or 20 without any limpers in front of him. So I did take note of that this was peculiar, and it didn't seem like he only grabbed two chips by accident and threw them in there. Like he didn't leave chips behind or anything like that.
I mean, this is an extreme situation. The small stakes exploit that I always look at is like, say, a couple people limp in, and then somebody makes it 15 or 20 at 2-5 when that's their normal opening without limpers. It's almost never a strong hand unless somebody is trying to like goad somebody. I've seen people kind of do like the reverse tell with aces and try to goad somebody into three betting. But where are you? What position are you in?
I'm in the small blind.
Okay, so the button folds.
Button actually just calls.
Okay, button calls. Okay, and what do you have in the small blind?
I have black nines in the small blind.
Oh, sounds like a three bet all day long here.
It is, and I go to 60.
All right, so hijack limps cutoff raises, min raises to 10. Button calls. Hero in the small blind with 9-9 goes to 60. I mean, sure, I like that. Cutoff is the primary villain, right? Who's raising to 10?
Correct.
Okay. And you and the button were deeper?
Yeah, the hijack and button were both around 1,000.
Okay. So hero three bets to 60. Okay.
Hijack folds, the cutoff calls, and the button folds.
All right. So your head's up against the min raiser.
Yes. A little bit more info on the cutoff. He looked like he was in his mid-20s, a little on the nervous side, but like I said, all of his actions up until this point didn't seem too out of line.
All right. Looks like the pot's about $140. Okay.
Correct. And we get a 6 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, 3 of hearts flop.
6 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. So obviously you've got an overpair here. I mean, I would say that this board really shouldn't hit him all that much. I mean, I guess there's a possibility you could have like 5-6 suited, maybe some of the small pairs, although it is pretty bizarre for a guy to like raise it up kind of small with some of the small pairs. I mean, this is not like 7, 8, 9, by the way. I know you've got pocket nines, but these low boards aren't quite as dangerous. I think I'm betting here, but it's certainly not going to be like a spot like in a 3-bet pot where you're always checking on this particular texture anyways.
Correct, that was my thought. And I figured with the flush draw being out there, if he did have a small pair, that he'd be the type of guy to just raise me off immediately anyway. So I bet 60 again because of him being so short. I didn't think I had to go too large in order to get all the money in there, depending on the run out.
So you bet 60.
Correct.
All right. So hero bets 60. I might go a little bit larger than that. I might go like maybe 80 or 90. I mean, I suppose you could bet to try to like induce something too and try to get him to call with some ace highs and something like that. I'm still kind of caught up with the whole setup is a little bit strange, but okay, you bet 60.
Yeah, if he started with a full stack and he didn't do the whole min click to be in the hand, I would have gone more 2/3ish. But like I said, it is what it is. I started off with a $60 bet and he just calls.
All right, so cutoff calls. And now we are at $260, it looks like, and the cutoff probably has like just over 500, right, in the stack.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the turn card is the king of clubs.
All right, so the turn card is the king of clubs, hero with 9-9. Again, it's 6-5-3, a couple diamonds, turns the king of clubs. That doesn't really change a whole lot here, with the exception of the fact that if he had like king X of diamonds, like he runs into like top pair. Sometimes you'll obviously see guys call this flop with like ace king. Doesn't really seem consistent that he has ace king based upon, the pre-flop stuff. So I definitely lean towards betting here again. The other thing too is that if you check, usually you're not going to see somebody start stabbing with a hand like 7-8. I feel like they're going to take a card a lot more, as opposed to if you checked a brick. Like if the board was like 7-8-3 and then the turn was a 4 and you checked and somebody had some sort of backdoor and then they decided they wanted to start a bluff. Here, a lot of people are going to check it through, because when you're the preflop 3-better and you 3-bet and then c-bet a ragged board and then check a king turn, I feel like you're not doing a whole lot of check folding, so it's going to get checked through a lot. So personally, I would be doing a lot of betting here again.
I ended up checking. I thought that if he happened to also have an overpair like sevens or eights, and I bet again, he would just end up folding out here. So I wanted to give him a chance to try to start bluffing if he had some sort of draw.
I mean, sevens is a gut shot. I mean, there is something to be said that there's a possibility maybe once in a while he has a higher overpair than you. Again, it's just so hard to gauge with this really strange pre-flop setup. You decide to check, okay.
He bets 150.
150. Wow. So the cutoff bet's 150. So if you make the call, the pot's going to be 560 and he's going to have like 350 behind?
Yeah. So I took a few seconds, but I ended up making a call.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's somewhat standard, I would say, as played. It's just interesting. He's got 350 or so left. The pot is 560. And I mean, obviously you don't want to see a front door diamond come in. I guess there are some cards that bring in like one-liners to straights and things like that. The whole like 7-8 thing with a 9, a 4 would be a bad card. So you could see a fair amount. I mean, honestly, what you'd probably want to see is like a high blanking card. That's probably not an ace either. An ace might not be the best card for you too. So maybe like an offsuit queen, offsuit jack, offsuit 10, and maybe like a board pairing card is what I would be rooting for here as the cleanest cards.
I do get one of those very particular cards you're talking about.
Okay.
I get the king of spades.
King of spades. So the final board is 6 of diamonds, 5 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. The turn is the king of clubs. Hero check calls the turn. Again, hero's got pocket nines, 9 of spades, 9 of clubs, no diamond in his hand. And the river here is the king of spades. And I mean, I guess as played, I'm going to check and evaluate. I don't know. It's just kind of bizarre. Like I said, it's a little bit strange to me to expect somebody to be betting worse than you, I would say, like on the turn that you could now somehow like get value from. So I think it makes a lot of sense here to check and evaluate.
So that is what I did. I did check, and he pretty quickly jams for 365.
So cutoff jams for 365. Well, I mean, the other thing too, it's not like you went super duper small on the flop. I'm just trying to think about like any king X here that doesn't have diamonds. Like if he floats somehow with like king jack offsuit, which you'll see a lot of if you bet super small. Like if you came out and bet 30 or 40, he might actually have a lot of king X here at the end, although he'll also have a lot of other hands that he wants to start bluffing with because he's so wide. But I mean, do we agree that he's not going to, I mean, at the minimum here for value, he's probably going to have king X here, right? Like we're not going to see jack here or 10-10.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that would suck is if he turned over 10-10. But I don't think he'd do that. The only other thing that kind of is a little dicey is if he structured it right, where you could have king X of hearts as well.
Right, some sort of king X on the backdoor side. 6-5, which would have been like top 2 pair. We talked about that a little bit. Gets counterfeit here. And again, like that's just a hand that I don't see necessarily get turned into a bluff all that much. The pot is going to be 925. I actually have a similar hand that I'm going to discuss on my podcast this week where an ace comes on the turn, and I had queens on a raggedy board like this in a raised pot. The river didn't pair the board, but 965, and he's jamming three. So you're getting about 3-1 here. Yeah, I have a bad feeling about this. It kind of just seems a little bit value heavy. So again, he would have to start a bluff on a king where he's not necessarily expecting you to check fold a whole lot with like front door diamonds, or a hand like 7-8. Yeah, it's a dicey one. I could see folding here.
Well, I did take a good 30 seconds, which I normally don't do.
Uh-huh.
And I pretty much came to the conclusion that I didn't think he would structure with hearts just from my feeling of who he was. So it was either some sort of king of heart or king of diamonds type of hand, or he just started running a bluff and felt like this was his only out. So I did end up putting in the call. And just as fast as my chips went in across the line, he mucks his hand and leaves the table.
So you never found out what he had?
Never did.
Villain mucks. Oh, that's an interesting one. He might have got me to fold there. Now, John F says that I don't see a lot of King X here. 7-6, 7-7, 7-8. Maybe 7-8. I go back to the whole turn though, where usually people don't start bluffing there in that particular spot. But you could just, I mean, another thing that I kind of washed over is it's so bizarre, the whole like pre-flop thing. Did the pre-flop thing kind of lean you towards like what's going on here? I'm just going to call and close my eyes and call.
Yeah, in part, I felt like he was more ace X diamonds heavy, and he just kind of went with it once I checked him on the turn, thinking that I'd be scared of that king.
John F said he sees 7-6, 7-7, and 7-8. Maybe some 7-8. I don't necessarily agree with the 7-6 and 7-7. It's interesting because when I first read this hand, I was like, oh, I was thinking about calling when you emailed it in a few weeks ago. But now, as I remember it, and I talked it through, now I kind of want to fold, but you ended up calling and you made a good call. Well, interesting hand. Thank you very much.